Hello everyone, this is part 1 of What If Naruto Married Ino. This story is made by Naruto-Uzumaki-Hokage, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video and to like, to subscribe, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Naruto Uzumaki was 18 years old now. He was a hero in every way to the village of Konohagakure, but still Sakura Haruno wouldn't date him, which frustrated him as he looked in his mirror. Naruto sighed as he looked at the mirror. There didn't seem to be anything wrong with him physically, but thought maybe it's because he was a guy that he thought that. Naruto sighed as he picked up a white button-up shirt and put it on and left his bathroom and looked at his forehead protector and left it off as it was his day off. Naruto walked out of his apartment and started to walk to Ichiraku Ramen. It always cheered him up when he was down. Naruto walked down the street and all the women looked at him and smiled at him. He noticed this and was now more depressed as he sank his hands deeper into his pockets as he walked while thinking, I am just going to get over her, it's obvious she wants nothing to do with me. Then he accidentally bumped into someone. Naruto looked around to see he knocked someone to the ground and took out his hand and offered it. Sorry about that. A female hand took his and he helped the woman off of the ground and he saw that it was Ino Yamanaka. Oh Ino, I am really sorry about that. Ino saw that it was Naruto and gave him a friendly smile. Oh hey Naruto, it's not like you to bump into someone. Naruto gave his typical fake smile and scratched the back of his head. Yeah, sorry about that Ino, I was just thinking about something. I can buy you some ramen to make it up to you if you like. Naruto expected her to say no. Ino was that friend that you always thought hated you, but she said sure and he was a bit surprised, but he walked with her to Ichiraku. They sat down in the bar next to each other and Naruto ordered 2 bowls of ramen, one for him and one for Ino. He had learned to eat in moderation recently, which made people like eating with him more, and he looked at his ramen. Hey Ino, we are friends, right? Ino looked up from her ramen and at Naruto, a little surprised by him asking the question. Yeah, of course we are friends Naruto, why would you ask that? Naruto just kept looking at his ramen and stirred the ramen noodles in the bowl a little bit. So if I ask you a question then you would give me an honest answer. Ino watched as the man was acting more depressed than he usually did. Of course Naruto, we are friends so I will always give you an honest answer. Naruto stopped stirring his ramen and took a bite and swallowed it and then looked at Ino. Is there something wrong with me physically or emotionally or something? I don't understand why Sakura seems to be repulsed by the idea of even giving me one date when every other woman in this village seems obsessed with me, other than you and her. Ino stared at the depressed man and knew why he was so depressed now. She had heard about Naruto's recent attempt to ask Sakura out, buying her flowers and chocolates and offering her expensive dinner at wherever she wanted to eat, but she shot him down instantly. Ino actually couldn't help but feel bad for the man. Naruto, there is nothing wrong with you in any way. No one understands why Sakura refuses to give you at least one date. Naruto sighed as he looked at the bowl of ramen and took a bite. Honestly, I was hoping that there was something wrong with me that you would see, then I would at least know. I am just going to move on from her. She has made it very clear that she holds no romantic feelings for me. Ino liked the sound of that. All of their friends were tired of watching Naruto suffer from his feelings for Sakura. I think that is a good idea Naruto. Naruto took another bite of his ramen and he saw Ino was done with her ramen. Would you like another bowl Ino? Ino shook her head no and went to pull out her money, but Naruto stopped her. I told you that I was buying the ramen since I knocked you over on accident. Hey old man, can I get the check please? The old ramen chef got the check and handed it to Naruto and he took out his wallet and pulled out one bill that was way over the amount. Keep the change old man, I feel bad that I don't eat so much anymore. The old man smiled as Naruto stood up and walked out of the ramen bar and Ino came out as well. It is getting kind of late, will you be alright getting home on your own Ino? I can walk you home if you want me to. Ino smiled at Naruto. This was his typical thing for him, always being a gentleman and offering to help out his friends. Sure Naruto, I would appreciate it, my apartment has a few creepy guys living there. Naruto nodded as he walked with Ino to her apartment complex and there were 3 guys standing in front of the apartment complex and smiled as Ino came near. Hey, it's the cutie in 4B. Hey cutie, you going to let me tap that tonight? Ino groaned and rolled her eyes at the 3 guys that were all smiling at her and making unsavory motions, and Naruto looked at him. Are they who you were talking about Ino? Ino just nodded as Naruto walked up to them and looked at them all. I would appreciate it if you didn't talk to women, especially my friend, in such a manner, or are we going to have a problem? Naruto looked at the three men who laughed and pointed at him. What are you, Blonde's boyfriend or something like that? Get lost or we will kick your ass. Naruto smiled at the leader and delivered a hard punch into his stomach, and he slouched over and fell to the ground. The two other friends went to punch Naruto and he ducked and delivered a uppercut to one and then kicked the other square in the nose, and they laid there groaning and bleeding, and he walked back over to Ino. That will hopefully take care of them for you, Ino. Ino smiled at him and hugged him. Thanks, Naruto, I was thinking about moving to get away from them. Naruto was surprised by her hug but put his arms around her and hugged her back. You're welcome, Ino, we are friends and I will always help you if you want my help. Ino released him from the hug and looked at him. He looked very handsome in the moonlight and she blushed as she looked away. I will always appreciate your help, Naruto, and if you ever need my help then I can help you. I am happy that you are going to try and get over Sakura. You will be a great catch for whoever snags you up. Naruto smiled at Ino. She wasn't sure if he was giving a real smile or not. Thanks, Ino, and who knows, I will look around to see who I could possibly see myself with and maybe I can finally be happy. Ino smiled at the man as he walked away with his hands in his pockets as he looked up at the stars and sighed and looked back at Ino's apartment and smiled. Maybe Ino is someone I could be with. Ah, who am I kidding? She wouldn't be interested in someone like me. Naruto sighed again as he walked down the streets of Konohagakure to his apartment. He had managed to depress himself even more. Naruto laid down on his bed and thought of all his friends to try and figure out if there was someone he could see himself with. Hinata wasn't his type, too quiet, and she was happily engaged to his good friend Kiba. Tenten was a bit frustrating with all of her gossip and was dating Lee. Although they were fighting a lot, Sakura was a lost cause. She didn't want to be with him and he was over her. Then there was Ino. She wasn't dating anyone since she stopped dating Shikamaru after he started to cheat on her with Temari. Naruto thought about how he was able to talk to Ino about his issue earlier and he didn't have any issues talking to her, but she was the most lusted for woman in Konohagakure. She wouldn't be interested in someone like him. Naruto sighed as he thought it was hopeless. He was either too late or not good enough, and he rolled over in his bed and went to sleep. Naruto wasn't seen very much for about 2 weeks. He was getting over Sakura and he was plagued by thoughts of who he could ever even be with. Naruto couldn't even think of someone who would want to be with him. He was a monster after all and sighed, I am going to die alone. Too bad, huh? I would have liked to at least had the opportunity to try and make someone happy. His mind ran back to eating that ramen with Ino and how happy she seemed when he helped her with those guys at her apartment. Should stop thinking that. She is too good for you. Naruto woke up and got out of bed and rubbed his eyes and got dressed in his black cargo pants and white shirt and put on his Junin vest and headband as he walked out of his apartment to Tsunade's office. She wanted to see him for something or another. Naruto knocked on her office door and waited to hear her say come in, and he entered and saw Sakura and Shizune there as well. Hey Tsunade, you wanted to see me? Tsunade nodded as the Junin man stood in front of her. Yes, Naruto, we have a S-ranked mission that we want you to take care of with one of the best sensory Junin that we have. Enter. The door opened and Naruto looked behind him to see Ino walking in and standing next to him, and they looked at Tsunade. We have news that Sasuke Uchiha is in the land of fire again and is looking for you. It is time that you finish this, Naruto. Naruto nodded and turned around and he heard Sakura yell for him and he stopped and looked at her. Naruto, please bring my Sasuke-kun home to me. Naruto just gave her a cold stare and answered her with a grim tone. Sasuke will be coming home dead over my shoulder. You can have your precious Sasuke back like that, Sakura. Sakura was shocked by the tone that Naruto was giving her and the fact that he didn't add the chan like he always did. Naruto. It's me that you are talking to, it's Sakura-chan. Naruto kept staring at her and gave her a plain answer. Oh, what a surprise, you notice me when you want something. You're not Sakura-chan to me anymore, you're just Sakura, someone that I work with. I will complete the mission that I was given to finish what Sasuke started 6 years ago, and that is what I will do. Naruto turned and exited the room, and Sakura had a wide-eyed look as Ino, Shizune and Tsunade were all smiling at Naruto's actions, and Ino bowed to Shizune and Tsunade and ran out after Naruto. Hey Naruto. That was great, you were really over Sakura then. Naruto looked back at Ino and nodded. Yeah, 6 years wasted on someone who only needs me when they need something is far too long. I need to go get my gear, meet you at the gate in 5, okay? Ino nodded and they both walked off into different directions to their apartments and grabbed the gear and meet at the front gate. Alright Ino, we need to set down some rules. This battle is between Sasuke and I need you to stay out of it or you could get hurt alright. You are here because of your exceptional sensory skills, okay? Ino just nodded at Naruto and his serious tone and they jumped off and Naruto knew where he was supposed to meet Sasuke, the Valley of the End. Naruto and Ino arrived and Naruto looked across the waterfall at the Madara Uchiha statue and saw Sasuke standing there as he stood on the head of the first Hokage. So are you finally ready for us to finish our war, Sasuke? Sasuke smirked as he took off his coat and threw it over the waterfall and Naruto removed his Junin vest and gave it to Ino and told her to leave. Ino took his vest and jumped back into the trees to watch the epic battle that was going to unfold in front of her. Naruto and Sasuke just stared at each other and Sasuke activated his Sharingan and Naruto started using his Sage mode as he looked over at Sasuke and closed his eyes. Ino was worried about Naruto when he closed his eyes and then Naruto and Sasuke were gone in a flash, clashing katanas over the waterfall with Naruto's eyes still closed. Naruto and Sasuke landed on the water and Naruto was sensing Sasuke with his eyes and then reached into his back pocket and put on some dark sunglasses and opened up his eyes and looked at Sasuke. You can't beat me unless you use your Sharingan. Naruto put his katana in front of him and then threw it at Sasuke and he blocked it and a huge amount of sparks came off and he looked back to see Naruto coming at him with a Rasengan. Sasuke went to dodge it but Naruto's used his frog kata and it was delivered into Sasuke's shoulder sending him flying into the Madara statue as Naruto stood there looking at him. Sasuke pushed himself out of the statue with blood coming out of his mouth and a dislocated right arm. How the fuck did he hit me? I watched him miss. Naruto stood there and looked at him and had a smile on his face. While you were busy thinking that you were so great because you were an Uchiha, I was actually training myself to become a great shinobi. Sasuke put his hand on his right shoulder and then pushed it back into place and moved it around and looked at Naruto. Let's see how great you have become then Dobe. Naruto got into a fighting stance and then summoned two more clones and smiled. Throw smoke bombs. The clones threw smoke bombs and one clone got a normal Rasengan while the real Naruto made a Rasen Shuriken as the other clone threw smoke bombs and then kunai with paper bombs on them. The kunai came at Sasuke and he threw his own kunai at them and stopped them and they dropped into the water and then exploded creating a bigger diversion as two of the Narutos attacked Sasuke, the one with the Rasengan and the other throwing kunai at him. Sasuke dodged the kunai and threw one into that Naruto's head and he disappeared in smoke and the other Naruto tried to hit him with a Rasengan but he missed and disappeared into smoke. Sasuke looked around for the real Naruto who was up in the air and threw his Rasen Shuriken at Sasuke and Sasuke tried to evade but his left leg was caught in the blast shattering his leg. Naruto landed on the water panting as his Sage mode disappeared and Sasuke smiled as he saw this and flashed at him and Naruto tried to block but got sent flying into the first Hokage and he coughed up blood as he hit the statue. Ino was watching in horror as Naruto and Sasuke fought, barely able to keep up with their speeds and saw Naruto hit the wall and jump to the first Hokage's head. She aimed her jutsu and yelled, mind-body switching technique. Sasuke and Naruto both heard this and then Sasuke jumped back as Ino missed but her soul was now out of her body and she fell forward off the first Hokage's head. Sasuke looked up at the falling blonde and Naruto delivered a hard kick to his stomach and sent him flying as he ran up the first Hokage and then jumped off catching the falling Ino. Ino opened her eyes as Naruto held her as he flew towards the water and landed on the water and put Ino down on the water. I told you to stay out of this Ino, I didn't want you to get hurt. Ino went to answer but was interrupted by the dark laugh of Sasuke and Naruto and Ino looked over at Sasuke and Naruto put his arm in front of Ino and moved her behind him. Well, if it isn't Ino Yamanaka, how is one of my dear fangirls doing? Ino looked over Naruto's shoulder at Sasuke. I am not one of your fangirls anymore Sasuke, I am here to support Naruto in his mission. Sasuke gave her a disappointed look. That is so disappointing Ino, you have become quite attractive and to think you are slumming it with someone like Naruto. Naruto took a step forward and got ready to fight with Sasuke. Ino get back please and so you know Sasuke, Ino isn't with me, I know she is far too good for someone like me. Ino backed up giving Naruto a confused look as he flashed towards Sasuke with his Kyuubi chakra going, now you die Uchiha. Naruto started to form a small-tailed beast bomb and slammed it into Sasuke's stomach, sending him flying with a hole through his stomach as Naruto brought his Kyuubi chakra back under control and panted heavily from the battle as he grabbed Sasuke's dead body and put him in a body bag, and his eyes rolled into the back of his head and started to fall over when Ino caught him. Naruto, are you okay? Naruto didn't reply as he passed out from the strain that he had put his body through, and Ino carried both Sasuke's dead corpse and Naruto's passed out body to the shore, and Ino looked at Naruto and thought back to what he said to Sasuke before he killed him. Why would Naruto say something like that unless he has thought about being with me? Ino stared at the passed out Naruto and wondered if he had actually thought about asking her out. What would she do if he asked her out? Ino would at least give him a chance. He has always been sweet to her even when she used to be mean to him, and the way he always acted towards Sakura was sweet to say the least. Ino waited for Naruto to wake up and he slowly opened his eyes and looked to see himself on the shore and Ino sitting there looking at him. Ino nodded at Naruto and smiled at him. You won, Naruto, but you passed out from exhaustion, so I carried you and Sasuke's body back to the shore. Naruto looked from her over at the body bag and then back at Ino, then up at the stars. Well, at least I won the war with Sasuke. Ino looked at him and he seemed depressed by the fact, and she was confused by this. I don't understand, why do you look so depressed, Naruto? Naruto kept looking at the stars and sighed as he didn't really know how to answer. I don't really know how to explain it. I guess with Sasuke gone I feel truly alone. He was the one person that I could really relate to from our village. Ino looked at the man as he stood up and picked up the body bag that contained Sasuke. Are you ready to go, Ino? Ino nodded and they started back towards Konohagakure, and they walked through the gate and to the Hokage's office where Tsunade, Shizune and Sakura were at, and put the body down on her desk and unzipped the head portion. They all looked to see Sasuke's lifeless corpse, as well as the fact that Naruto had stabbed Sasuke's eyes with a kunai so no one could get the Sharingan, as promised, the corpse of Sasuke Uchiha. Tsunade nodded and pulled out a large sum of Ryo, amount 1 million for Naruto and 500,000 Ryo for Ino. Naruto gets the extra money for the bingo book bonus. Ino nodded in understanding and they both pocketed their money and walked towards the exit of office when Sakura started to yell, "Damn you, Naruto. You were supposed to bring him back alive." Naruto stopped and looked over at her and gave her the same cold stare again. I told you I was bringing him back in a body bag, and there he is as promised. Don't talk to me anymore, Sakura. You're a terrible person and extremely annoying. Naruto walked over to the door and opened it and let Ino walk out in front of him as he followed her out and walked out of the Hokage's tower, and he said goodbye to Ino and went to walk away until she yelled for him to stop. Ino watched as Naruto went to walk away, but she still had a question for him that she wanted answered from him. Naruto, wait. Naruto stopped and looked over at Ino, and she was standing there twiddling her thumbs and blushing a bit. What did you mean when you said that I am far too good for you? Naruto gave her a confused look. He thought that it was self-explanatory and scratched the back of his head. It means that you are too good for someone like me. Ino was staring at him and got a little closer to him. Does that mean that you have thought about asking me out, Naruto? Naruto stopped scratching the back of his head and looked at her. Well, I guess that you can put it that way, Ino. Ino smiled as she was standing directly in front of him and she looked up at him. So when are you going to ask me out then, Naruto? Naruto had wide eyes at Ino's comment and wasn't sure what was going on. I wasn't planning on asking you out though, Ino. You're too good for me. You're from a prestigious family in Konohagakure. You are probably the most lusted for woman in Konohagakure and more, so I was just going to forget about it. Ino gave Naruto a disappointed look and sighed. You're an idiot, Naruto. For one, when a woman says that to you, then you should just ask him out right then. 2. You are technically from two very prestigious clans, the Uzumaki and the Namikaze clans. You say that I might be the most lusted for woman in Konohagakure. First off, I am the most lusted for, so get it right, and 2, you are the most lusted for man in the village as well. Naruto stood there and looked at her and she smiled at him, and before he could speak she spoke up again. Can't ask me now that I have already explained it all, ruined the moment. Now you will have to ask me out another time in an amazing fashion. Naruto watched as the blonde female Junin walked away from him and he was confused as hell now. What just happened? Naruto walked home and sat on his bed scratching his head as he tried to understand what the hell was going on. Did Ino say that she wants me to ask her out? Naruto sighed and laid back in the bed and looked up at his ceiling and tried to figure out what was going on. Naruto slowly fell asleep and woke up the next morning still confused, but he knew what he had to do. He had to think of a great and amazing was to ask out Ino Yamanaka. It took him a couple of hours, but he finally had his plan and walked out of his apartment and out to a field where wild sunflowers grew and plucked some of them and then went and bought a purple wrapping and ribbon and wrapped it. Naruto left the shop and went and bought her a gift card to a body lotion shop as well and then jumped up onto a building and looked around for Ino. Naruto finally found her and she was having lunch with Hinata, Tenten and Sakura at a fancy restaurant and he focused his chakra to his ears to hear their conversation. Hinata laughed as she looked over at Ino. So Ino, I have seen that you have been spending a lot of time with Naruto lately, are you two dating? Ino blushed at the question and looked at her friend. Well, not yet, I had to convince him that he was good enough, but now I am waiting for his grand gesture. Hinata smiled at the thought of two of her good friends finally being with someone. Ino had struggled with Shikamaru's betrayal for a long time and Naruto had struggled with Sakura. Sakura then looked from Hinata to Ino. You shouldn't date him, he is a monster who killed Sasuke-kun, he deserves to just die. All the other women gave her a surprised look at the comment and Tenten spoke up. Wow Sakura, that is a fucked up thing to say about someone who did so much for you. Sakura just huffed as Ino spoke up. Sakura, stop being such a bitch, I was there and Sasuke had every intention to kill Naruto, so it was like self-defense if you want to rationalize it that way. Naruto stood up on the building and smiled a bit that Ino was defending him and thought he eavesdropped long enough and whistled from the roof and the four women looked up at him and he jumped off of the roof and landed next to them, surprising them all. Naruto stood up straight and offered the flowers to Ino. I picked these for you Ino and I didn't know what else to buy you, so I got you a 10,000 Ryo gift card to what I was told is the best lotion shop in town. I was wondering if you would like to have dinner with me tonight. Ino still had wide eyes. She had told Naruto to ask her out in an amazing fashion, but he really went all out. Yeah Naruto, of course I will have dinner with you. Naruto smiled at her and looked at her smiling back at him. Was this as amazing of an experience as you were hoping for Ino-chan? Ino blushed at Naruto and looked at the flowers. Well, you got me a great gift, nice flowers, and literally jumped off a roof for me, so I would say that it was better than I expected. Naruto smiled at her and she felt that it was a more of a real smile. What time are you going to be picking me up then Naruto? Naruto smiled some more and shrugged at her. I guess that I will pick you up around 6 if that is good with you. Ino nodded and Naruto said goodbye to everyone except for Sakura and turned to Ino last. Goodbye Ino-chan, I will see you tonight, okay? Ino smiled at Naruto and nodded as he walked away and went off to do the things that he had to do today, and she sat there with the other ladies still. Sakura was the first to speak up after Naruto had walked away. What a ass, he didn't even say goodbye to me. Ino rolled her eyes as she smelled the flowers that Naruto had picked for her. These smell amazing, but Sakura, he told you last night that he didn't want to talk to you anymore and that he thinks you're a terrible and annoying person. Tenten and Hinata had wide eyes as Ino repeated what Naruto said and she smelled her flowers again and smiled. Did he really say that Ino? Ino looked over at Hinata and smiled at her. Yeah, he decided a couple of weeks ago that he was over her and then we got our mission to kill Sasuke and Naruto did, and Sakura started to yell at him and he told her that. Tenten and Hinata both smiled at this. They were happy that after 6 years of being neglected he finally was moving on from Sakura and with someone who would be good to him. Sakura noticed the other two women smiling at Ino's comment and was a bit offended. What are you two smiling about? Tenten and Hinata looked over at Sakura and held their smiles. We are happy that after 6 years of you only being nice to Naruto, if you need something he is moving on to someone who can treat him right. Ino smiled at her friend's comment and looked at the card that Naruto gave her. I can't believe he got me such an expensive gift card. Ino stood up and put money on the table for her food and drinks and said goodbye to her friends and walked off to buy new clothes for her date with Naruto. When 6 that evening came around, Ino found herself being extremely nervous over the fact she was going on a date with Naruto. Naruto was equally as nervous over his date with Ino. He had never been on a date and wasn't really sure what to do on it. He stood outside Ino's apartment and knocked on her door. Ino came and opened the door and saw Naruto didn't have his headband on and his hair was hanging down and wearing a black button-up shirt with the sleeves rolled up his forearm and dark blue jeans, and he smiled at her. Hello Ino-chan. Naruto looked at Ino, who was wearing a black dress that hugged her body tightly and her hair wasn't in a ponytail like it usually was. Hey Naruto. Naruto smiled at her some more and he moved out of the way so that she could exit her apartment and lock up. As they walked down the stairs they saw those three guys again and they saw Naruto and glared at him. Have those three been giving you any more problems, Ino-chan? Ino shook her head no as she looked at him. After you beat him up I told him to leave me alone or I would have my boyfriend beat him up again. Naruto smiled at her and then looked over at the three guys again as they walked by them and Ino slowly took Naruto's hand as they walked. Ino had been wondering what Naruto had planned for the date, if it would be as amazing as the fashion in which he asked her out. Naruto walked with her and they looked like they were heading towards Ichiraku Ramen and Ino was less than thrilled about the idea but when they walked past it she had a small smile that Naruto picked up on. You really thought I would take you there for our first date, Ino-chan? Ino looked away ignoring the question which was all of the answer that Naruto needed and he shook his head in disappointment. Such little faith, Ino-chan. Ino just kept saying nothing and smiled at him as they walked and arrived at the Silver Swan, or as most guys called it, their month's rent. Ino was surprised at where they stopped and looked at Naruto who was smiling at her. Are we seriously going to eat here, Naruto? Naruto just nodded his head and led her into the restaurant and looked at the hostess, Uzumaki, reservation for two. The hostess looked at the reservation list and found Naruto's name and walked them to their table and Naruto pulled out the chair for Ino. Thanks, Naruto. Naruto smiled at her and then sat in his chair and looked at the menu to find something that he wanted to eat and Ino spoke up. Naruto, it's really expensive here, are you sure about eating here? Naruto kept looking at the menu and then looked up at her. Is there someone else that you would rather eat at, Ino-chan? Ino looked at the prices on the menu and then back at Naruto. Well, I would rather go somewhere that isn't going to bankrupt you. Naruto shook his head and smiled at her. Don't worry about that, Ino-chan. I can afford to bring you here, I am a fairly wealthy man. Ino smiled at him as she looked at him. Well, if you are sure then I am enthused that we are eating here, Naruto. I have never eaten her before. Naruto nodded and looked back at his menu and figured out what he was going to eat as the waitress came and asked what they wanted to drink and Naruto spoke up first. I would like a water, please. The waitress nodded and wrote it down on her pad and then looked at Ino. I would like a lemonade, please. The waitress nodded and walked away and Naruto put his menu aside since he knew what he wanted. Do you know what you want, Ino-chan? Ino nodded as well and put her menu aside and they had small talk until the waitress arrived. Are you two ready to order? They both nodded as they received the drinks and Ino spoke up first. I would like this chicken Alfredo meal, please. The waitress nodded and wrote down Ino's order and then looked at Naruto. I would like a steak with mashed potatoes and corn as well. The waitress nodded and walked away and Naruto looked over at Ino. So how is the date thus far, Ino-chan? Does it meet the expectations of the most lusted for woman in Konohagakure? Ino smiled at Naruto. So far you have exceeded my expectations but all we have done so far is have dinner. Naruto smiled at her for her comment. Well, I do have other things planned as well so don't think the night is over just yet. Ino smiled at him and they received their food and they continued with their small chit-chat here and there and when they were finished Naruto received the check and he looked at it and put it down and got out his wallet and Ino snatched it from him and was shocked by the price. Wow, only 2 meals and 1,000 ryo. Naruto put down 1,100 ryo and stood up and offered Ino his hand to help her get up and she took it and smiled as they walked out while holding his hand still. They walked through the streets and then they walked up to the top of the Hokage monument and Ino looked around. Why are we here, Naruto? Naruto released her hand and he went to a bush and grabbed out a basket and smiled at her. We are here to have a nice time, Ino-chan. Ino gave him a confused look and Naruto opened the basket and took out a blanket and unfolded it on top of his father's head and took out 2 wine glasses and a bottle of red wine and Ino smiled. Well, someone knows how to be romantic. Naruto gave her a small smile as he poured Ino and himself a glass of wine and offered it to her and she took it and sat down with him. This spot is special to me, did you know that, Ino-chan? Ino shook her head no and took a sip of her wine and waited for him to elaborate on that. This is where I used to sit when we were younger, well, more of where I used to wallow in self-pity. After I got over that, it is where I decided I would come to clear my head of doubts that I had in my life. Then I found out that the 4th Hokage was my father, so now it is more special to me. Ino looked down at her glass and then over at Naruto who was looking up at the stars. I don't think I ever told you I was sorry for how I treated you when we were younger, so I am sorry, Naruto. Naruto shook his head and looked at her. Don't worry about it, Ino-chan. You were just being a kid and following what the adults did. I don't blame anyone for it. Ino looked at him and was confused by this a little bit. How can you not blame anyone after all the terrible things that people used to do to you, Naruto? Naruto just gave a sad smile as he remembered some of the things that happened. If I hadn't have had to go through that, then there is no guarantee that I would be the man I am today, and I kinda like who I am. Ino smiled at him again and gave him a caring look, and she put her hand on his. Well, I like your reasoning because I kinda like who you are as well. Naruto chuckled a little and they drank their wine and looked up at the stars in silence for a while, admiring the stars until Naruto stood up and offered her his hand to help her stand up. Ino smiled as she took his hand and thanked him for helping her up. Naruto smiled at her. Well, that is what I had planned for our date, other than walking you home. Ino smiled and nodded at him, and they left the Hokage monument, and Naruto walked her back to her apartment and up the stairs and smiled at her. I hope that it meet your expectations, Ino-chan. I was a bit nervous you wouldn't like it. Ino just shook her head and hugged Naruto and looked up at him. This was possibly the best date that I have ever been on. Hopefully the next one will be even better. Naruto smiled at her and she started to move closer to his lips, and he closed his eyes as he leaned towards her, and right as they were about to kiss, someone said, Ino. They both knew the voice, and Ino froze from the voice and opened her eyes wide and looked over at the tall man. It was Shikamaru. Naruto looked over at Shikamaru and then back at Ino and saw how she froze up just from his voice, and he could feel her heart pounding. I guess she still has feelings for him. Ino was still frozen as she looked at him in disbelief still, and saw the man that had left to be with Temari in Sunagakure was now back, Shikamaru. He flashed his smile at her and he took a step towards her, and she took a step back as he spoke. Ino, I have come back to be with you. I made a mistake. Ino's eyes went wide again as he said that, and Naruto felt his heart drop at Shikamaru's words and looked at Ino, who looked to be in shock. No. You can't do this to me, Shikamaru. Shikamaru took another step towards Ino and she was up against her door now, and Shikamaru went to move towards her again, and Naruto put his hand against Shikamaru's chest and spoke in a defeated tone. You should leave, Shikamaru. She doesn't want you here. Shikamaru gave Naruto a up and down look and saw how nice he was dressed, then how nice Ino was dressed, and he started to laugh. Really, she replaced me with you. Get out of the way, Naruto. I am here to talk to the woman who is in love with me. His words stung Naruto at the thought of being a replacement to Ino. I probably am just a replacement for Shikamaru, but he stood firm in his resolve. I will tell you this one last time, you should leave. Shikamaru went to hit Naruto, but Naruto grabbed Shikamaru by his shoulder and stopped his punch and threw a hard punch into his stomach. Shikamaru fell to the ground coughing, and Naruto looked at Ino, who was in shock, and he looked away. Sorry if I hurt him, Ino. Naruto put his hands in his pockets and walked away, and Ino watched as he was walking away. Naruto didn't stop though and just kept walking, and she walked after him, and when she turned the corner on the stairs he was gone. Why did you leave, Naruto? Ino looked back at a coughing Shikamaru and then went down the stair to find where Naruto went, and she was asking everyone until she ran into Kiba. Kiba, do you know where Naruto went? Kiba was scratching his head and looking down the street and then back at Ino. Yeah, he walked by and I said hi to him and he just kept walking looking depressed. I think he went to the bar. What's up with him? Ino wasn't really sure what was wrong with Naruto. I have no idea. We had an amazing date and we were about to kiss when Shikamaru showed up, and then Naruto stopped Shikamaru from approaching me and then defended himself against Shikamaru and then said he was sorry if he hurt him and walked away and disappeared. Kiba knew what was wrong then and looked at where Naruto went. I know what's wrong with him then. I would leave him alone right now. Ino gave Kiba a confused look. I don't understand what you mean, Kiba. Why should I leave him alone and what is wrong with him? Kiba looked at Ino and with a very serious tone he answered her. He figures that now that Shikamaru is back you are going to go back to him. Naruto is a very insecure person and goes under the assumption he isn't good enough after years of rejection from Sakura. I am assuming that you didn't kiss him because Shikamaru showed up right as you were about to. He sees it as you didn't kiss him because Shikamaru was back and you still have feelings for him. Right now he is probably through half a bottle of scotch in self-pity and looking for the biggest guy to kick around. Ino had a worried look on her face and ran off towards the bar and ran through the door and saw Naruto downing the end of a bottle of scotch with about 6 unconscious people around him. Pussies. Naruto threw the empty bottle at the wall and put money on the bar for the bartender and took another bottle and walked towards the door and saw Ino standing there looking at him. Naruto blinked and rubbed his eyes and looked at the bottle of scotch. Jesus, this is some strong shit or else. Hey bartender, is she actually here? The bartender looked at the door to see Ino standing there looking at Naruto and he answered, well, there is a blonde woman in a black dress staring at you. Naruto nodded his head and took a hit off of the bottle and looked back at Ino as he lowered the bottle. I have to admit that I am surprised to see you here, Ino. Ino took a step towards Naruto and he looked at her in confusion and then tried to take a step back, but the Kyuubi wasn't healing him as quick as he was drinking and was getting too drunk to take that step and regained his balance. He looked back at Ino, who was now standing right in front of him, and he sighed, why are you here, Ino? I don't have to be his replacement now, he is back. Ino looked at him and then slapped him and he went stumbling, too drunk to keep his balance after the slap. Ow. Why the hell did you hit me? Ino had a furious look on her face as she stared at him. You are not his replacement, Naruto, he said. That not me. Naruto moved his jaw around. She had a surprising amount of strength. I saw how you reacted when you saw him. It's like I wasn't even there anymore until I stopped him from getting close to you. Ino looked away from him. He did have a point that she froze and stopped noticing him when she saw Shikamaru. I can't deny that, Naruto, but I have a lot of hurt feelings from him and seeing him again brought them back to the surface. Naruto took another hit off of the scotch bottle and looked at her. I am going to ask you a very simple question. Do you still have romantic feelings for him? Ino froze at the question and Naruto looked down and then drank the end of the bottle of scotch, then grabbed another and walked past her, not saying anything, and disappeared again. Ino looked back at the door from where she stood and whispered to herself. Naruto, you didn't even let me answer. She walked out the door to the bar and saw Kiba standing there again and she looked at him. I told you that you should have left him alone, all you did was make it worse. Ino glared at Kiba and then walked off towards Naruto's apartment and left Kiba there smiling. Mark my words, Kiba, this is far from over. Ino arrived at Naruto's door and saw the lights on and sensed that he was in there and she pounded on the door. Naruto, open this door right now. Naruto was sitting on his couch as she pounded on the door and demanded that he let her in. Why is she doing this to me? Naruto ignored her and then she was standing in his living room and he was looking at her. How did you get in my apartment? Ino looked back at the door and then at him. You forgot to lock the actual door, Naruto. Easy to get in that way. Naruto sighed as he realized that he didn't lock the door. Rookie move when you are trying to avoid talking to people. Why are you here, Ino? Ino looked at the depressed and partially drunk man in front of her. You never let me answer your question back at the bar. Naruto drank the end of the scotch bottle and let it drop to the floor and with a more depressed tone, you did answer the question though, Ino. When you didn't answer, that was an answer in itself. Ino walked over to Naruto and stood directly in front of him and kicked the bottle out of the way. No, it wasn't, Naruto. I was surprised by the question is all. I do not have feelings for Shikamaru Nara anymore. Naruto looked at her and Ino thought she saw a little bit of hope in his eyes and then it faded. It's fine if you do, Ino, I understand. Ino gave him an irritated look and pushed Naruto all the way against his couch and straddled him. Naruto-Uzumaki, I do not have feelings for Shikamaru Nara, I have feelings for you. Now I want to finish what we started earlier. Naruto gave her a confused look and she leaned in and pressed her lips to his and he kissed her back. She could taste the scotch that he had been drinking and they broke the kiss. Now are you going to just walk away from all that we can have as a couple, Naruto, because you are insecure because of what Sakura did to you? Naruto closed his eyes and thought for a second and then opened them to see her still looking at him. Am I the only one that you want to be with? Ino nodded and looked at him. You are the only one that I want to be with, Naruto. Am I the only one you want to be with? Naruto smiled at her answer then nodded and looked at her. You are the only one that I want to be with, Ino-chan. They smiled at each other and Ino got off of Naruto and she looked at him. I hope that we don't have to have this conversation again, Naruto. Naruto looked at her and sighed. Well, I can't necessarily guarantee you that we won't have this conversation again, Ino-chan. Ino just continued to look at the man and looked at his whisker marks and then rubbed them and he let out a small moan and pulled away from her as she giggled. Those are sensitive, you know. Ino smiled at Naruto and then went and started to rub them some more as he moaned a little more and she laughed. Now I know your weak spot, Naruto-kun. Naruto smiled at the fact that she called him Naruto-kun for the first time and pulled her down and smiled at her. Guess I will just have to find one of yours. Ino smirked at him and she stared at him and then he kissed her neck gently and she held back a moan but Naruto felt it and kissed her there again and she let out a small moan and he smirked. I guess I found one. Ino gave him an evil stare and she kissed his cheek and got back up. I don't really want to go home, Naruto-kun, he might still be there. Naruto nodded at her and pointed her towards his room. You can sleep on my bed, Ino-chan, I can sleep here on the couch. Ino smiled at him and then pulled his hand and led him into the bedroom and laid him down on the bed and then laid down next to him and wrapped his arm around her and fell asleep as he laid there blushing until he finally fell asleep. Ino woke up the next morning to still feel Naruto's arm wrapped around her and breathing calmly against her neck, and she smiled. She turned her body to face the sleeping Naruto and she rubbed his whisker marks and he moaned in his sleep. Ino-chan. Ino smirked at the fact that he was moaning her name. She was partially expecting him to moan Sakura's name, which she really didn't want to hear him say. Ino leaned in and kissed Naruto gently and he slowly woke up as he kissed Ino back and broke the kiss, surprised that Ino was laying there. Ino looked at him, surprised that he backed away from her and he looked like he was in a state of panic. What's wrong, Naruto-kun? Naruto closed his eyes and then reopened them to see her still there and grabbed his throbbing head. Why are you here, Ino? Ino shouldn't have been surprised that he didn't remember last night after how much he drank. Why wouldn't I be here, Naruto-kun? You don't remember, do you? Naruto rubbed his head as he closed his eyes and tried to remember last night. I remember him showing up, going to the bar and drinking and beating up those 6 guys and you showing up and we talked and then I grabbed another bottle and came home. Other than that I don't remember anything. How did you get in my apartment? Ino sighed as she had to cover everything with Naruto again. So do you understand why I am here now? Naruto just nodded and looked at her neck and saw a hickey there. How come you have a hickey there, Ino-chan? Ino didn't say anything. If he didn't remember then she wasn't going to tell him. Oh, that, it's not a hickey, just a mark from scratching myself. Naruto looked closely at it and touched it and didn't see a scratch mark and then kissed the mark and she let out a moan and he smiled. Liar. Ino let out a low growl at Naruto and started to rub his whisker marks and he let out a moan as well. I know one of your weak points as well, Naruto-kun. Naruto smiled at her as she rubbed his marks and moved closer to her again and wrapped his arm around her again and he got comfortable again, but Ino started to get up. Where are you going, Ino-chan? Ino was being held to the bed by the strong arm of Naruto and looked at him. Well, I was going to go and make us breakfast, but unless you have some other activities planned. Naruto started to blush as he released Ino and she smirked at him. Oh, is that something that you don't want to do with me, Naruto-kun? Naruto blushed, got redder, and then he started to stumble on his words. I didn't say that. I was just. Ino put her finger to Naruto's lips and smiled at him. You're very cute when you are nervous, Naruto-kun, but I was just teasing you. Naruto growled at her for her making him act like that and got on top of her and pinned her to his bed. That's not very nice, Ino-chan. I will have to teach you a lesson. Ino looked up at him and put her hand behind his head and pulled him into a kiss, and he put his hands on her hips and slowly moved them down her legs to her bare kneecaps as she ran her hands down his back to the hem of his shirt, and then he stopped and got up and she was looking at him in confusion. Why did you get up, Naruto-kun? Naruto smiled at her as he adjusted his shirt and stared at her. Well, I told you that I was going to teach you a lesson, Ino-chan. What did you think that the lesson was going to be about? Ino glared at him, not approving of the lesson he was teaching her, then smiled at an idea. I don't think that I understood the lesson, maybe you should reteach it. Naruto chuckled at the comment and came over by Ino and looked her in the eyes. Maybe you should learn the lesson quicker next time, Ino-chan. Ino wasn't satisfied with the answer and glared at him some more. This is far from over, Naruto-kun. By the next time you kiss me like that, you are going to be begging for more. Naruto smiled at her and kissed her on the forehead and took off his shirt as he walked into the closet and got a fresh shirt and walked out and put it on. Ino's few moments of seeing Naruto's bare chest and abs had left her with a blush. Something wrong, Ino-chan? Your face looks really red. Ino got out of the bed and said nothing and stood up and stretched, pushing out her breasts towards Naruto, whose gaze went towards them. Ino smiled as she saw him and then turned around and bent down, and his gaze then fell on her ass and she started to giggle. Are you having fun looking at my ass, Naruto-kun? Naruto smiled and blushed a little bit and then looked at her, who as she stood there staring at him. Honestly, yes, and before you ask, I had fun looking at your breasts as well. Ino smiled at Naruto and she quietly walked out of the bedroom, and he was a little worried that he might have upset her and scratched his head. Ino-chan, did I say something that upset you? Naruto walked out of the bedroom after her and she was in the bathroom fixing her hair when Naruto found her. Ino-chan. Ino looked in the mirror at him and then turned around to face him and looked at him. Yeah, Naruto-kun. Naruto was looking at her in a confused fashion, still worried he did something that upset her. Did I do something that upset you, Ino-chan? Ino smiled as she looked at him. You didn't do anything that upset me, Naruto-kun. I forgot that you are inexperienced with women and don't know what some body language means. Naruto looked at her with confusion in his eyes and scratched his fuzz on his face and had a thinking face. I am going to have to pay closer attention to your body then, Ino-chan. Naruto smirked at his comment and then walked out of the bathroom and sat down on his couch and started to play a guitar, and Ino walked out of the bathroom and into the living room where Naruto sat. Ino watched as he started to strum the guitar and bobbed his head as he played, and she sat down and listened to it, and he stopped and looked at her. Yes, Ino-chan. Ino looked at Naruto and smiled at him. I didn't know that you could play the guitar, Naruto-kun. When did this happen? Naruto shrugged as he looked at the guitar and put it down on the side of the couch. I have played the guitar since I was 10, Ino-chan. Ino looked at Naruto with confusion. She had known Naruto a long time but didn't know that. How come you never told anyone that, Naruto-kun? Naruto shrugged as he looked back at the guitar and then back at her. Why should I have told anyone? When I was younger it wouldn't have changed anything. Ino sighed as she looked down. Naruto had an extremely rough childhood, something she had never made easy on him, but he knew she was sorry for that and then looked at him. So do you sing as well? Naruto rose her eyebrow at her and smiled at her. Well, everyone can sing, Ino-chan. As for if I have a good singing voice, I don't know. I have never sang to anyone, but I have written a couple songs before. Ino was excited about this and she got closer to him and smiled at him, and he sighed. I suppose that you are wanting me to play one of those songs for you. Ino nodded her head and she watched as Naruto took out a couple pieces of papers and she looked at them, and there were a few that were a little dark, but that was to be expected from Naruto. When did you write these, Naruto-kun? Naruto shrugged. Depends on the song. Some were written when I was younger, some were written when I was a teen. Some after a harsh rejection from Sakura. The song was always a reflection of my feelings. Ino looked at him as he explained and then picked one up called Anthem for the Underdog, and read the lyrics. When did you write this one, Naruto-kun? Naruto looked over at the paper and smiled a bit. I wrote that when I was 11, one of my first songs actually. I wrote it as a personal inspiration to keep going when I was down. Ino liked the sound of that. She didn't want to hear a song he wrote for or because of Sakura. Sing this one then, Naruto-kun. Naruto nodded and read the lyrics really quickly to remember the song correctly, and then slid out her amp and plugged in his guitar and strummed to make sure it was working properly and started to play the song. You say you know just who I am. But you can't imagine what waits for you across the line. You thought you had me. But I'm still here standing. And I'm tired of backing down. And I'm here now feeling the pain of 1,000 hearts. Been to hell and back again. I won't take this. You try so hard to bring me down. You can't break the broken. You still don't seem to understand. It's your turn to see just how it feels to be me. How it feels to be knocked down. And you're here now feeling the pain of 1,000 hearts. You've been to hell and back again. You can't take this. Remember this feeling. How it feels to be alive. Now you see me through my eyes. And we're here now feeling the beat of 1,000 hearts. Coming back to life again. We can make it. Remember this feeling. Remember. Quote. Naruto finished the song and looked over at Ino, who was looking at him in awe. Wow, is my voice really that bad, Ino-chan? Ino shook her head and snapped out of it. She thought he had an amazing voice. Wow, Naruto-kun, you are actually a really good singer, and the song had such depth to it. Naruto turned off the amp and slid it back into its corner and put the guitar back and looked at her. Thanks, Ino-chan. You are the first person that I have ever sang for, so it means a lot to know you liked it. Ino scooted closer to him and leaned her head on his shoulder. I will listen to you sing anytime, Naruto-kun, but first you have to write a song about how you feel about me. Naruto leaned back onto the couch and looked at Ino a little confused. Why would you want me to do that, Ino-chan? Ino smiled at him. She wasn't going to say she was jealous of Sakura, because I am your girlfriend, and isn't that what you're supposed to do? Naruto thought about it and realized a lot of artists did write songs about their significant others. I see your point, okay, Ino-chan, but no telling people I can do this, okay? Ino nodded and kissed his cheek and stood up. Well, I guess that I should be getting home here sometime soon. Hopefully he is gone by now. Naruto stood up and told her he would walk her home, and he took Ino's hand and led her out the door and walked with her across Konohagakure to her apartment complex to her apartment, and he was still sitting there waiting for her. Ino clenched Naruto's hand tightly, and he could feel how nervous she felt because he was there, and he calmed his own insecurities to support her as they walked to her door, and Shikamaru stood up. "You were with him all night, Ino." Ino stopped and looked at Shikamaru and then at Naruto and replied to him, "I was with my boyfriend all night, yes, not that it concerns you at all." Shikamaru gave Naruto a look as Naruto just kept watching Shikamaru to make sure that he didn't try anything. "I thought I told you to leave, Shikamaru." Shikamaru scoffed at the comment and went to grab Ino's arm, and Naruto stepped between the two. "You are getting on my nerves now, Naruto." Naruto kept looking at Shikamaru, and Ino opened the door to her apartment and leaned up and kissed Naruto's cheek and whispered in his ear, "Remember, you're not a replacement, Naruto-kun." Naruto nodded but never stopped watching Shikamaru. "Are you going to leave on your own 2 feet or on a stretcher, Shikamaru?" Shikamaru scoffed again as he walked away, yelling that he was going to have Ino back no matter what, and Naruto watched him leave and waited a few minutes to make sure that he didn't come back, and then left himself, leaving a clone there just in case Shikamaru came back. Naruto was walking through the streets of Konohagakure and thinking to himself as he thought of a beat and lyrics to the song that Ino had requested from him when someone put their hand to his chest to stop him. He looked up to see Kiba. "Naruto, are you alright after last night?" Naruto looked at his friend and smiled at him. "Yeah, I am fine, Kiba. Ino and a drunk me talked it through, and then she re-explained it this morning." Kiba instantly went to dirty ideas. "Oh, so she stayed the night at your place, eh?" Naruto finally popped his cherry. Naruto shook his head as Kiba and him walked down the street. "No, idiot. She didn't want to go home because she thought Shikamaru might still be there, and he was when I dropped her off like 20 minutes ago. I have a clone watching in case he shows up again." Kiba nodded and then saw Hinata up ahead of them. "Well, I wanted to make sure that you were all right, Naruto. Glad to hear it all worked out, and don't let your insecurities ruin this for you, buddy. You deserve to be happy, and I think Ino can give you that happiness." Naruto nodded as his friend walked away, and he was walking to his apartment and saw a new building being put up by Yamato, and he stopped. "What are you doing, Yamato?" Yamato turned around to see Naruto standing there. "Oh, Naruto, well, Tsunade requested that I make an apartment complex that is designed for couples and newlyweds." Naruto nodded and looked at one of his former team leaders. "Well, is there anything that I can do to help you out?" Yamato smiled at Naruto and then patted his shoulder. "Not unless you learned how to be able to do wood-style jutsu. Thanks for the offer though, Naruto." Naruto nodded and walked away and arrived at his apartment and walked in and grabbed a piece of paper and started to write down the song for Ino. Lemon chapter. The next 4 months of Naruto and Ino's relationship were interesting. Naruto had no idea what was going on half of the time, and Ino used that to her advantage frequently. Shikamaru had made his presence known to the couple often while they were on dates or spending time together, and it was starting to make Naruto really irritated. Ino, on the other hand, was beyond irritated with it and had started to threaten to kill Shikamaru if he didn't stop with the whole stalking thing. Naruto and Ino had gone to Tsunade about his actions, and a restraining order was drawn up, and if he violated it, Naruto was free to use whatever means he deemed necessary. Since the restraining order was drawn up, he has only come near Ino one time while Naruto was there, which was often. Naruto had told Ino that he loved her last week, and Ino was ecstatic when he told her this, and she told him she loved him, which made him smile and kiss her. Ino smiled as she looked at a sleeping Naruto on his couch. She thought he looked adorable at the moment and wasn't sure she really wanted to wake him up, but he promised her that he would sing her the song he wrote for her. Ino walked over and shook Naruto a little bit, and he slowly opened his eyes to see Ino standing there and smiled. "How do you keep getting in my apartment?" Ino smiled at him and showed him a key that she had for his apartment. "You gave this to me, remember? You were drunk and I brought you home and you told me to keep it." Naruto looked at her and held his smile as he looked at her. "Well, that does sound like me now, doesn't it, Ino-chan?" Naruto sat up on the couch and scratched the back of his head and looked at the clock that was on the wall. "We got an hour before our date, so I am going to shower and get dressed, okay?" Ino smiled and nodded, and Naruto stood up from the couch and took off his shirt as he walked towards the bedroom, and she blushed, and as he was walking away he leaned down and kissed her cheek and whispered in her ear, "That blush is adorable on you." Ino let out a low growl and watched as Naruto turned and went into the bedroom, and she heard the shower turn on. Her and Naruto had not yet moved on to a very physical relationship. She was glad they had worked on emotional stuff first, but she was getting impatient waiting for him to make a move on her. Naruto stood in the shower as the water ran down him and he closed his eyes and relaxed as he felt the warm water and he heard the door open. Ino-chan. Naruto didn't hear anything, so he opened the shower a bit and stuck his head out to see Ino standing there looking at him. Ino-chan, what are you doing? Ino had a blush on her face as she looked at Naruto and she smiled a little. I am tired of waiting for you to make a move on me, Naruto-kun, so I am going to make the move on you. Naruto gave her a scared look and closed the shower door, and then Ino opened the door and looked in at him, and he was watching as she came into the shower and he covered himself as she let the water hit her naked skin. Naruto went to open the other door saying he was done washing up in the shower, but Ino held it close and looked at him. Naruto-kun, where do you think you are going? Naruto pointed at the shower door. Well, I am done, so I was going to let you wash up in the shower while I get dressed. Ino moved closer to him and put her hand on Naruto's chest. That is not why I am in here, Naruto-kun. We are going to have some fun right now, Naruto-kun. Naruto had a blush as his naked girlfriend got closer to him and he started to look at her body and then looked up. I don't know, Ino-chan. Ino got closer to him and he could feel her hot breath on his chest and looked down at her. I have this feeling that I don't get a choice right now. Ino kissed his chest and then looked up at him. Naruto-kun, if you really don't want to be physical with me, then we won't be. I thought you would want me though. Naruto looked at Ino and wrapped his arms around her. Ino, it's not that I don't want to be physical with you. I am really nervous about this though. Ino looked down to see his hard and erect member and smiled and looked back up at him and purred. Well, Naruto-kun, it looks like someone has been holding out on me. Time to teach you a lesson. Naruto let out a nervous laugh as Ino reached down and wrapped her fingers around his member and slowly moved her hand up and down, and Naruto leaned down and kissed her. Ino started to speed up her hand as Naruto kept kissing her, and Ino took one of his hands and put it on her dripping womanhood and started to rub his hand until he started to do it on his own. Naruto was no longer nervous. All he knew was that he wanted to have Ino right now, and he put a finger inside of her and started to twist it furiously, making her moan into his mouth. Naruto had a smirk on his face from this, and Ino glared at him. Don't think that you have an advantage or anything, Naruto-kun. Ino kissed down his body as she went to her knees, and Naruto watched as she breathed on the head of his member. Her warm breath sent shivers up his spine. Ino then started to lick the tip of his head and a moan escaped him, but she didn't stop. She proceeded to lick down his shaft to his balls and licked them a couple of times as well, then licked back up his shaft and put her lips around his head and slowly started to take him into her mouth. Naruto put his hands against the wall as she slowly took more and more of him into her mouth until she had half of his member in his mouth and wasn't sure she could fit any more. Ino started to bob her head back and forth on her boyfriend's erect manhood, and slowly she was getting more and more of him into her mouth and making him moan. For his first blow job, Ino was surprised at how well he was doing in holding out on coming, and she started to play with his balls in her hand, and Naruto was loving it. Naruto moved one hand to the back of his girlfriend's head and watched as she bobbed up and down and 3/4 of his member, and he could feel that he was going to be coming soon. Ino-chan. You should stop. Ino knew he was close from the way he was pulsing in her mouth and kept on going though, and he soon reached his climax and released inside of her mouth. With Shikamaru, she had never let him come in her mouth or considered swallowing, but she swallowed all of Naruto's cum. Ino stood up and smiled at Naruto, and he kissed her and then down her body. She knew what was going to happen now. He was going to return the favor. Naruto dropped to his knees and kissed her in a thigh, and she let out a loud moan from the sensation and thought of what was going to come, and he breathed lightly on her exposed womanhood, sending shivers up her back. Naruto licked her erect clit, and she put one hand on the glass and one hand on the wall and moaned again as he started to suck on it. Ino had been wanting to fool around with Naruto for a while now. As Naruto continued to suck on her clit, he slid a finger inside of her and started to twist it around, and she couldn't hold on anymore and orgasmed on his hand. That felt so good, Naruto-kun. Naruto didn't stop there. He sucked her juices off of his finger and then slid his tongue inside of her womanhood, and she let out the loudest moan yet. Naruto twisted his tongue around inside of her and ran his tongue up and down every wall, getting her to come again, and when he didn't stop and her sensation was at her highest, she came again, moaning his name loudly. Naruto licked her juices up and looked up at her with her dazed eyes as he kissed up her body and smiled at her. So how did I do, Ino-chan? Ino didn't have words that could describe how amazing that felt, so she pulled him into a passionate kiss to express how good it felt to her, and Naruto smiled and wrapped his arms around her. Ino went to slide Naruto inside of her. She didn't think that she could wait any longer, and Naruto turned off the shower and picked her up and carried her to his bed and laid her down. I would prefer our first time be in a bed, not the shower, Ino-chan. Ino smiled and nodded as he came up and started to kiss her neck as she parted her legs, and he positioned himself at her entrance. Are you sure about this, Ino-chan? Ino nodded at him and smiled. He seemed so concerned about her, and she loved that about him as he slowly pushed himself inside of her. She was more experienced than Naruto. Shikamaru had taken her virginity from her, but Naruto was happy that the woman he was in love with was taking his. Naruto put his hand on her hip as he started to go in and out of her, and he was loving the feeling. Oh, God. Ino-chan, you feel so good. Ino was only able to moan. Her mind was gone from the feeling that Naruto was giving her, and he was happy that he was able to please her. Naruto kept on pumping and felt her tighten around him and moan extremely loud as she orgasmed, and Naruto leaned down and kissed her. Naruto kept pumping though. He wanted her to feel as good as possible, and he was feeling amazing as well. Naruto continued, not stopping. If he was known for anything, it was his stamina, and he was putting it to good use. Naruto felt her tighten and moan loudly again, and he leaned down and kissed her neck and ran a hand down to her clit. He felt himself getting close, and he was going to do his best to give her the best orgasm she had ever felt. Naruto pinched her clit as he continued to pump and felt that he was right on the verge and pulled out, coming on her stomach and thighs. Ino-chan. When he pinched her clit, she was sent into another world and came as well, and heard him moan her name and moaned as well, Shikamaru. Naruto froze and his eyes went wide. He couldn't believe that she moaned his name, and he backed away from her as she laid there with a smile. It took Ino a minute to realize what she had moaned out. At the moment, he made her feel the best and looked at him as he looked at her with hurt in his eyes. Naruto-kun. I am so sorry. Naruto just put his hand up. He didn't want to hear about it, and he grabbed his boxes and pants, putting them on, and put on his shirt and shoes without saying a word, and walked out of his own apartment and slammed the door behind him. Ino came out of Naruto's bedroom and saw that he had slammed the door so hard that he actually took it off the hinges. She knew he was hurt from it, but he was furious as well. Ino looked around his bathroom and picked up her clothing and put them on. He wasn't going to like it, but Ino had to find him and talk to him, and there were only a couple of spots he would go. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.